Welcome to Dead to Cinema. I'm Stephen Mominex.
And I'm Brian Gillis. Like most people, we love going to the theater and catching latest releases. However, sadly, put a big dent in your wallet.
Fortunately, living in the digital age makes the viewing possibilities endless from the comforts of home.
Many of these films that you can see right from your couch, we're ashamed to say we miss, despite labeling ourselves cinephiles.
So join us as one or both of us cross off a title from our list of shame.
It can be an all-time essential classic,
or an underrated piece of cinema that's worth giving a shot.
Hell, it might just be some trashy film we want the other's opinion on. So sit tight and join us as we pay off our debts, $1 at a time.
It's a bad time, this time of year.
How many times is he gonna tell this story?
Oh, let him tell it. I love fairy tales.
This ain't no fairy tale, little girl. If you don't take it seriously, you're a fool!
First Valentine's dance in 20 years has to be something special.
It happened once. It happened twice. Cancel the dance or it'll happen twice.
In the town of Valentine Bluffs, there are many ways to die. Take your pick. My Bloody Valentine.
We've talked about the MPAA before, thanks to you making your pick last summer for This Film Is Not Yet Rated, and
Important movie.
it's almost impossible for me not to talk about
How much they fucking ruined this film.
Yeah, and it's more for me because there's an unrated cut and then there's the theatrical cut where this got butchered up.
Yeah, I saw the unrated one. I can't imagine watching theatrical cut.
Well, I think I saw something in between. Like, I'm not sure. We were told it was an unrated cut, but then I did some research on some of the scenes and I saw some stills, and I know for sure it's not the theatrical, but I think I might have seen one of the versions in between when they were cutting it just to get a rating, because honestly, for me there were definitely some scenes where I thought, based on how they were executed, they seemed kind of tame, and they're not as shocking, at least as Wikipedia made them sound like, for what was inserted back into it.
I mean, I did some quick research too. I definitely saw the full version, but my qualm with that, my problem is it was very obvious when someone's going to die, because just the color grading, the film scratch, just the timing, everything about it was like, okay, someone's going to die. And it ruined everything about it, because there are some insanely awesome, creative kills here. The pickaxe going through the dude's eye, awesome. The shower sequence, you get this double penetration, like Bay of Blood lovers thing that happens.
Yeah, no, see, that was a big one because I looked into it. I got the aftermath of that, but I never saw the entire thing.
I didn't see that kill either.
Mine was kind of a grindhouse like print in some ways. Like, not only was it beat to shit, but there was stuff missing. Like, I did not really see the opening sequence of this movie from the beginning. The very first thing I saw was the director of photography credit, and then it kind of skipped around on some stuff. So no, like I know
movie starts off so
I know
well.
what it was, but then it's like it kind of just jumped around that.
It kind of doesn't make sense when you think about it. That the opening sequence, it's like our killer here, is with someone in the mine. She takes off her top. You see some cool tits, and then he pierces her heart literally through her tattoo, and then you get this really cool just like cartoony logo where there's hearts where the O should be in the bloody, and they kind of drip down to show like the trademark. Just totally fits the movie. But like I'm thinking about it afterwards. I'm like, when the fuck did that happen? Like, when did he get a bitch into the mine? Why? Why was she so stupid that she was like, yeah, I want to have sex in a coal mine?
Evidently, she worked there. Like, you got the monologue, or the whole entire banter that was going on between the guys in the shower. That's who they were talking about.
I must have missed that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I got out of that.
This movie, I mean, this is not a good movie, but it is perfect for your hijacking of the holidays. It began with Black Christmas. Now we got My Bloody Valentine. Are doing Leprechaun next, and then April Fool's Day. Do you have an agenda here?
Me? No, I don't want to. Do I have to do Leprechaun? I mean,
well, maybe April Fool's Day. I kind of do want to see that. That's supposed to be.
What is that?
It's kind of similar to this. It's just let's take a holiday. Let's make it spooky type of thing. I know it's one of Brendan's favorites. And speaking of, real sad that he's not joining us. If you listen to our Black Christmas episode, or 2 cents we've been talking about Brendan from Scream 101 possibly being on this, he forgot that it was Valentine's Day, and he had
Which is fair.
he had Valentine's Day plans because, of course, he's in a relationship.
Based on how we scheduled this, it didn't work out. I mean, but yeah, this is totally a slasher movie, though, in the sense where Black Christmas is not, technically, because Black Christmas came...
It's a little bit early, yeah.
It inspired it, but that's a completely different movie. This is the 80s. This is...
100% slasher.
Right after the height of Friday the 13th.
It's funny, too, because this film is Saturday is February 14th in this film. So that means this takes place right after Friday the 13th.
Exactly.
This is a Paramount flick, too, so just... a little fun shit right there. But no, really, the MPAA really ruined this film. It's hard to really talk about slashers of this era because we're kind of we've been spoiled by better sex, bigger bodies, more just better special effects, better gore, better makeup, more obscene things. And this, even still... from when it stands out, it stands out, but man, like if I saw this when I was growing up, it probably would have been really cool because it has a great slasher character with a good backstory.
Down to the look, like Mike Myers and Jason Voorhees, those are the guys that you look at and they just look scary. But the minor mask in this,
it's iconic,
really fucking creepy with a pickaxe. That would have. It's still, in some ways, that is still a creepy image to me. That should be very iconic.
It's inherently creepy, especially if you're in a dark area. You got this person with a light on their head. It's shining in your face. You can't see anything.
It's just awesome. You got the breathing sound too with that POV shot.
Oh yeah. That's what you missed out.
It's perfect for that
with the sex scene because that's when it starts. It's almost like Darth Vader-esque, which kind of makes sense because this is in between the first two Star Wars films, and. So you have her, this chick, taking her top off, because she's wearing a minor outfit also, and she takes it off. So you see her face and you see her tits, and then and then she tries to take off his, and he's like no, and then she starts kind of stroking his mask, the breathing tube, and you hear him breathing real heavily, and you're thinking it's because he's getting turned on. It's like nope, it's because I'm about to kill you. But yeah,
so he's getting turned on.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah. Super unsettling though. I don't like how this film kind of does the same thing that Friday the 13th does, where the whole film you think it's about a certain person, and at the end you're like, nope, surprise, it's actually about this person, and it just does this quick fuck you turnaround that.
Well, of course it's gonna do that because it was not a definitive it's this person.
It did that the whole movie though. No, it did the whole movie. It was like they gave you this
you kind of
wild
assume
goose
it's
chase.
this guy because they give you the backstory because that's the only lead that you go on, but they still instilled enough doubt because they didn't give you an answer. And you've probably seen enough slashers at this point. Like Black Christmas did the same thing.
Sort of, except Black Christmas,
they built it up to make it seem like it could be this one guy.
You get no answer in that film, whereas this is. We at no point ever said that this main dude in this love triangle that you get a whole bunch of screen time with and you inherently don't like because, TJ is just a cooler character. His dad was killed 20 years ago. It traumatized him for life, and now he's fucking crazy. There was no backstory for that. All they needed was one scene. They needed one piece of dialogue where it's like, how fucking insensitive can you be? Don't you know that his dad died that night? Anything like that. Fucking one piece of dialogue. Instead, at the end of the film, we're like, oh, yeah, we know. Yeah, that Harry guy died 5 years ago.
But especially when you get down to that reveal and just this entire thing. I mean, this movie is silly. In a good way. It is
that
really
hot dog
more
scene.
Funny, if anything.
I have to imagine
just not that, but I mean just every single I mean the bartender when you have him die, first off you build up this guy
he has the best
in the funniest way. He's warning everybody. He's like, oh, I told everybody that this would happen. You want to go have a party? You kids shouldn't do that. You should listen to me.
I'm gonna
and then he just decides
scare
to
all
scare
you guys.
them. Yeah, I mean, and it's really cool how that death scene happens, but. Even then, just how they have him laughing, just opening the door and closing it, just getting a kick out of the scare that he's setting up.
It's a great misdirect. There's a couple of those.
There's so much humor throughout, in just about every single kill because they're kind of silly, honestly.
When the love interest is walking home after a date with TJ, and the sheriff shines his light on her, and you think it's the mask for a second, and so does she. There's a couple of those like that here, but then it just I don't know, I think it's in between the accent, because this is like Nova Scotia. This is not a
this is
Canadian
Canadian.
dialect that you hear frequently, and it seems hokey. It seems like these are almost like British people that are trying to do an American accent, but you know that that's just how they sound in Canada in that area. The way they say sorry, I'm so sorry. You're like, oh, shut up,
Everybody
dude.
was laughing along with that.
Because it's laughable.
This is, for lack of a better word, this is Canadian. Like,
very
they
Canadian.
make weird horror movies, and I've seen some of them over at the Draft House because I've been exposed to them, and there's really no other word to describe it other than they can be kind of weird and just kind of silly, just like this is. So
it's like maybe the Bratzies totally make sense in Canadian horror fashion then.
The Pit was a really good one that that I talked about.
With the cat. Yeah.
No, not with the cat. It's the one with the kid with the demonic teddy bear telling him to bring to this troll-filled pit everybody that he hates.
What's the one with the cat?
Oh, Uninvited.
There you go.
No, that's just a shitty horror movie. That's fun. I don't think it's Canadian.
I think most horror films are inherently shitty. Like, you only have to do a couple of things, especially in the slasher genre. You need a killer with some iconic
shitty, like
image.
Samurai Cop shitty with bad
never
acting.
mind.
Yeah, The Pit is not that. It's Canadian.
Anyway,
it sounds like it's offensive, but when I say it, but there's really no other way to describe it.
To make a good slasher film, you need a killer that has a great getup. You need inventive kills, and you need sex, and preferably partying where you see sex. If you get those, it's awesome. Bay of Blood almost gets there, but that's not a slasher. That's a giallo that kind of created the slasher film, and it makes sense.
Don't forget atmosphere. Like, what's great about Friday the 13th is that it is set at, a summer camp location, which I don't know if people get that now, but, the days of going to summer camp and it can be a pretty creepy place. There's always campfire stories, and that's fitting for that. But down in the mines, that's a really nice atmospheric spot.
I think that's an extra layer, though, because the mines don't really happen here, like, truly until the last, 25, 30 minutes of the movie.
No, it's the finale of the movie.
Yeah, because you do get a couple of scenes in the mine. If there was a better build-up to that, maybe. Like, I just remember I told you once upon a time, I was like, oh yeah, I've seen some of MPAA Valentine. So the moment that I saw was when the dude with the mustache took them into the mine, Hollis. That's exactly the scene I saw. So I already knew at some point these girls were going to go into the mine. I knew it the whole time I saw the movie. Maybe if I didn't see that in IFC some years back, I would have got a better payoff for the finale. But I knew. I just had to know. Maybe it was seeing the trailer for the remake. Was that like a decade ago or whatever that was, which you've seen, right? You saw that one in 3D?
Yeah, I did.
So you knew the story.
I don't remember it. Well, it's a very different movie, but I knew the basic concept of this.
We live in Valentine's Bluff, where we don't have Valentine's Day anymore.
I don't even remember if that was the same thing. See, another thing that's silly, though, is just the town name here.
Valentine's Bluff.
Yeah, I mean,
where they don't celebrate Valentine's Day because of the Valentine's Day massacre.
This movie is just way too silly. That it's humorous, really. It's more funny than scary, and I want to say it's rewatchable for those reasons. Like, I definitely want to see it again to see, though, at some point if
the kills are
what I'm missing out of these kills. Like, the shower one is so cool, but I never saw the impalement. Like, and even then, the best thing I saw the aftermath was when the guy went up to her, and the shot is like,
and the
so
water's
dark.
Coming out of her mouth.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's more suggestive, if anything. Like, that's a Hitchcockian shot that implies stuff where, like, that enough is messed up, but no, I did not see the gore there.
Yeah, the impale was awesome.
It was funny, though, how everything, like, all the clothes and all that were just falling.
It's like, okay, look.
And she's freaking out.
I saw John Wick Chapter 2 earlier today. So, I'm not going to ruin it for you, but let's just say he uses a pencil again in this one.
Well, that movie has a lot of blood.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, in terms of impalement, there's some pretty cool things that happen in that movie. And so to get, like, that bookended, like this at the end of the night and that at the beginning of the day, really great in terms of just horror, not horror, but gore. But yeah, that impalement, you see it through the back of the head, out of the mouth. Like, it's so cool. It's almost as good as the pickaxe. But that pickaxe is, I want a gif of that. I'm sure there's one out there. One of the best just horror kills or just kills period I've ever seen. Like I said, if it wasn't for the film grain, if the color timing wasn't bad there, if that wasn't clearly a real or not real but something that was spliced out of the film and kind of collecting dust for years, so good. Like, I really hope.
You can blame Gene Siskel for that, evidently.
More so, I think probably Jack Valenti. He can eat a dick.
Well, no, the story that I was told to preface this is that right after Friday the 13th, Gene Siskel was one of the guys that was so, offended by that kind of entertainment. And I think what he did evidently was him and a bunch of people had them writing letters to the MPAA to be more strict on it. And so that's how you had a ton of people that were against slasher movies at that point, and that they just believing that they had a negative influence just on culture at that point.
That's possible. The thing that I read on IMDb and Wikipedia about this was that it was released shortly thereafter John Lennon's death. And so
the director claimed that in an audio commentary.
The media was like, how about we don't show gratuitous violence, especially murder, to not influence the rest of our society to kill people. Which I don't think was the best choice, but hey, whatever. I didn't live back then. But yeah, no, this... I want to see... Well, I wouldn't say I necessarily want to see the remake for this one, but I'm going to add it to the list.
No, not for that.
What I think I'm going to do this Halloween is watch the remake for the horror stuff that we've done on the show up until then.
Watch it with your VR headset.
So, I probably will.
That's the only reason to watch
if I can
that
find
movie.
I'm sure I could rent a 3D Blu-ray or something.
3D
somehow.
nudity, that's the only reason why.
So yeah, I'd watch the remake of that in 3D. I'd check out Black Christmas. Maybe watch the original Blob. I don't know, like anything like that. Just kind of like harkening back to the rest of my year.
I'll be honest. I was gonna save the remake of Black Christmas for next Christmas.
Really?
Unless you want to do it. Yeah, I was thinking about it. Just bookend them that way.
I really want to see it.
I do too.
I said that so much during that episode. Like it's such an interesting movie that I want to see what it's like with a much bigger budget. Like I want to see better kills. Like it deserves it.
I saw the trailer for that one. That seems more like a generic slasher.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, but Black Christmas, like that I was surprised at how great that movie just ended up being. Like, because I really did not expect it to just go in the direction that it did. Like, not just as far as plot, but I mean, just
like I would say it's less great than it is really really unsettling. Like
there was just a point where it ended up being very gripping, and like I did not expect it to become a procedural and like
it takes like an hour to get there though.
Maintain the suspense to go throughout it. Like it really how you would categorize that movie, just it kept me fascinated, I guess, how the events just unfolded. Though
it's by the numbers.
It's a slasher, but hey, it's the 80s and it's fun. But
it's hard to shit on this movie because it came out like this is 3 years after Halloween. Like the genre, it was just created. There's already a couple of great examples. The iconic ones, Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Psycho, like a decade before that. So there's already the groundwork, but this fits in just as well as those do. The iconic villain, the way it looks, the getup, it's so hokey. Like
this it plays kind of like a good parody in a way of just the slasher genre, because it's so much more like almost every decision here just feels like a bad one. The kids are like, they canceled the dance. Well, fuck them. But like you see the humor in almost everything when they go like, no, you know what, we're gonna go have a party by the mine. Like that's a great idea, right?
It's
like
just more aware, I think, is what it is. Like it's the
fair,
genre is already kind of evolving, where it's not quite Scream, but it's on the way towards that. Like these are. Yeah, they're still kids,
it's not
but
meta, and that's not referencing it.
It's not meta, but
it's definitely just playing around with
the genre.
Just the idea at this point.
It's like the genre is so established that the filmmakers are trying to create new stuff by like kind of not pointing necessarily, like you said, it's not meta, but just trying to evolve the norms. So these aren't high school kids; they're young adults, but yet it seems like most of them still live at home. Like they are working class, except they party, or at least they're drinking all the time. You have these girls, and most of them aren't ditzes. Like in particular, what's her name? That's part of the love triangle, which is it's a really good plot device, especially with the way that the two men play out. You got the son of the owner of the mine, who also happens to be the mayor's son, who is the savior, and then you have the other guy who you fell for only because he left town, who turns out to be literally your worst nightmare. And by the way, we haven't talked about this. The way he cuts his arm off and runs away.
That's the thing. It's like you can't help but laugh at this.
It's spooky,
it is just so weird.
It was spooky though. His laugh, the way he runs off. He's like, "Me and Harry, we're gonna come back. We're gonna get you."
It's kind of like the Invisible Man.
Almost, yeah.
That was a vibe I got, but yeah, it's Canadian.
And then you get that folk song too in the credits.
Oh yeah,
which is awesome. Like more horror films should have something like that. Like you could put that on. Like, well, no,
but people just get weirded out by anything that tries to be that weird and funny. They just look at it as like, that's terrible. Why would they do that? It's a horror movie. You want it to be scary. Like, I don't think horror movies are brave enough to do that anymore.
It's
really.
Like the Grindhouse fake trailer for Thanksgiving was clearly inspired by this film.
Oh yeah.
It's so just the idea of this guy ripping people's hearts out, putting them in Valentine's Day boxes, and making
just so awesome.
These
just the little cards,
kick-ass cards. Yeah, like so cool. What he does to Mabel in her own laundromat, the way that's set up with the smell. Like I caught the blood on the inside of the door, so it was very obvious that she was in there. Or just you assume the worst.
Well, it's like the dryer is spinning, so what else could it be at that point?
Well, I mean,
you're at a laundromat, you got to do something with it. What are you gonna do? It has to be related to that.
It looks so good, just in the same way that like the dude getting his face in the boiling hot dog water. Where everyone's eating the hot dog still. They added more water.
That's one of the ones where I'm like, I wasn't that shocked by that. So I feel like I may have missed a few seconds of it.
I think
it should be more awesome than it is.
We're spoiled, like I said. We've not only seen most of the films that preface this one, but also the remakes. And in particular, you saw the remake of this.
I can't remember a single gory scene from that remake.
Maybe
though.
not, but we've lived through the torture porn era and Saw and the meta movies and so many different things. And like nowadays, if you're watching AMC, like shows on basic cable are gorier than this is. Like they're more creative in this film. Maybe that's because of budget, just the constraints on the budget and trying to reinvent the wheel.
Well, and I think for shows, it does end up feeling a lot more shocking, especially when you're that invested in a character for so long that even it doesn't even necessarily have to be that gory. But it can be very gory, especially in Game of Thrones, where you feel that impact when someone that you spent like 4 seasons caring about suddenly just dies and you don't expect it. Like that could be a heavy blow. But yeah, no, I did vaguely, I think, say that back when you were thinking that you were losing your eyesight during Bay of Blood, like that, because that was a movie where that wasn't even a slasher yet.
Almost a slasher, yeah.
But it was influencing it, yeah.
Like
it had
time,
the template for that.
That's a total Friday the 13th setup.
Oh yeah.
The kills, especially like the impaled double murder here, the sex. But
it
couple,
definitely has
that is ripped straight from that
movie. That template, yeah.
100%.
Although it's still,
except
it did go like in other directions.
Yeah,
it had to do with what, like this lady dying and.
Well, I mean the setup, but
I don't know.
Just that kill alone, even though you actually see it happen in that one, you get the killer point of view with that machete through the couple.
That's the best part of that movie.
It goes through the couple and the bed, like that movie's kind of worth watching.
At least they finish.
Yeah, it's worth watching just for that kill, almost. To be honest, like I feel that this film is that in the same effect. It's the kills are so good, the gore is so great that it almost makes it worth watching. Like
I get to see the machete in the face scene every now and again because one of the don't talk PSAs that they have at the draft house is the one that happens where they're just like, hey, this guy just got back from a night full of talking and texting.
I don't know if Brennan's listening to this episode, but I can't buy this one. I mean, it's important. It's hard for me as a modern viewer, and especially as someone who kind of avoids the horror genre most of the year, to see something this dated and really like it. Because it's enjoyable. The characters are interesting, even if it's mostly generic, while also trying to put a different spin slash like fun angle on the genre.
One thing I really do like about
dated.
this, though, that's kind of nice and different about it, is that even though these are sort of stereotypical cliche archetype characters,
it plays with them.
You really do get this nice banter between them, and just the environment. It really feels lived in and has this nice personality to it.
It's a real mine. This is a real place. I actually read this funny thing.
Well, it's not Valentine Bluffs.
No, but I mean, this is a Nova Scotian mine. It's called like Mines. I forget the name of the towns. It's Mine something.
Yeah. It made me want to go back to Canada for vacation.
But
so it's
apparently
that nice.
The mine that they found, they're this is perfect. We'll be back in a couple of months. We're gonna film here. The people fixed the mine up to make it look nice, so then they had to spend like $40,000 making it look shitty so it matched the movie, which is like the saddest thing I've ever heard. Like if that hadn't happened, the gore.
It's kind of a Canadian thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
that's super Canadian.
We'll try to fix this up for you.
It's like the gore could have been even better.
No, we
here.
need it to look that shitty.
It could have been so much better.
Maybe I did see the unrated cut then, because actually no, I don't know, because like I wish I was more impressed by some of this gore. I wish I saw gore actually.
The gore is great. It's just too gapped. There's too much downtime in between what's going on. The film, the story time here is 20 years. The plot time is 3 days, and it's like across 3 days you get like what? Like body count is what? Like I don't know. It's like 10, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good amount. Yeah,
it's a fair amount.
I mean, there's a lot of lives at stake in this one, which it definitely ups the body count, I guess, for slashers at the time.
Yeah. I guess it's just it's like I wanted to see something just. I got exactly what I was looking for. I mean, what you were looking for, more like it, since it's your pick. It's just I understand why this is iconic. It has a great title.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun holiday pick. I mean, if it's Valentine's Day, you want to put on something a little bit different. Just it's so kind of kooky. Like it's not campy, but it's almost there. Even when it's in its most serious moments, it doesn't really pull you in. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't Terror Train. Okay, check that shit out. That is the best. I think that's my favorite slasher film, especially original slashers like first generation. That one's awesome. Like, that has a great final girl. The final girl, well, first off, there's two of them, and one of them's real fucking annoying, and the other one is really calm for some reason. But, like, you get that...
Isn't that always how it has to be?
Sorta, but you get that... Wait, no, she does die. So, yeah, there's a final girl. The kill before last here, when the dude who was, like, lynched, his head fucking gets ripped off his body... That's so awesome. Like, most of the kills here are awesome. The problem is that in between this murder and mayhem, you just have these characters and plot lines that aren't quite fleshed out. And if you're going into a scary movie, you're not necessarily looking for that. But with one like this, which is, claimed as a classic, I was expecting something like that. That's why I'm pointing at Terror Tram, where we brought up, at Bloody Valentine, or even if it doesn't have those kind of trappings, you got something like Halloween, which is just one girl in this house alone on Halloween, and it's a 90-minute fucking adrenaline rush, which I need to rewatch. I haven't seen that as a kid, but it's Sean Carpenter. I have to imagine is just as palpable. Like, the fear is just as strong as it was the
It's
first
just
time I saw
amazing how unsettling that movie is with a really low body count.
It's the score.
Too, yeah. Like, just it's really unnerving. Like, not the theme for Halloween, but just like everything
else, yeah.
Like going throughout, yeah.
Speaking of which, I saw this with my surround sound headphones. There's like no music here.
I saw this in a crappy mono track. Like, my print was full on like a grindhouse print, and so like that's I kind of savor that experience and seeing something that looked shitty that was kind of cut up, and I definitely look forward to watching this again in the future, probably on some streaming platform, and hopefully it's the unrated version, because I think there's still more for me to see. But yeah, I cannot give this the highly coveted rating that we have,
No.
but I can give it a recommendation to at least see it, because
yeah.
you know, there's definitely some cool stuff here, and it is very strange and entertaining. At the end of the day, I did actually enjoy it, but it's like I cannot jump for joy and just heap praise on it.
It's a fun counterculture pick for just inherently romantic holiday. It's like, instead of watching a rom-com, this is a perfect selection in the opposite boat. If you're into do something that's, you know, against the grain, or you just want to like fuck with your Valentine, even though the holiday's already passed when you're listening to this episode, it's perfect for that. Like, it's interesting. If you love slasher films, especially some of the ones that we've been naming off, you know, Halloween, Friday the 13th, you're gonna like this one. It fits right in with those. It's fun. It's a little bit of an adventure. It's just, you know what's gonna happen. We ruined it for you, but you know what's gonna happen. Like,
yeah, but I mean, even if we describe it, I don't think we can prepare anyone for just how weird like this ending gets, you know, as well. Like, or just the humor of this thing. And
it's like,
that's really
me,
the thing I enjoyed the most
this
about it.
Axel dude who you don't like for 1 second the whole movie. He's a dick always, especially when he sucker punches TJ.
He has the coolest name too, so I would expect him to be the good guy. Yeah.
But when he fucking, it's like you get a couple of different misleading elements. Like, it's like, you'd think for a while, is it TJ? He disappeared and then he came back. He's always gone. What's up with that? He's trying to steal this guy's girl. And then, you know, you get Axel, who's also
though, right?
Axel, you get the same kind of misdirect going on. And then even, you know, you get like, oh, what if it is the guy? Like, you know, you have like 3 different strings that you can go down here. I can't go in there to save him. It's 60 feet deep. It's like, okay, so he fell in the water, or maybe he didn't fall in the water. He just threw the light down there. Okay. It's like the mind shit doesn't quite make sense. Like,
no, it's.
I don't want to point out the loopholes, because hey,
no, but it's really just
effective.
a slasher movie, and it's just a fun one. Really.
It's a slasher movie, exactly.
And yeah, like, you know, it's definitely fair to say that we've been probably spoiled by some stuff, because, you know, this is building up to that genre. Like, there's definitely stuff that pushed it even further in the 80s.
Yeah, I can.
And
it's. I don't know if it was my first one, but yeah, the Scream films are among my first slasher genre like exposure. So when you start at the best, it's hard to really watch the beginning, you know, the chicklings.
I still feel that Friday the 13th, the first one, it's still more shocking to me. I mean, just the death of well, everyone knows who the villain is just in that one, like with the
I hate that. I hate
with
that
shard. Like,
too.
I mean, the one that I remember that always got to me was the arrow through the neck in that one, which that was just a genius kill, because it just came out of nowhere.
Psycho, Friday the 13th, this movie, when the whole time they want you to think it's someone, you're like, nope, sorry. Last second, we're going to tell you it's someone else. Like, it's just a bullshit twist ending, because it's not even really a twist.
But I mean, the movie is just so just silly, like, by that point, that was just like, you know what, I could buy it well enough. I mean, he cuts off his hand and then runs away laughing. Like, where's he going to go?
Well,
is he just going to be this legendary monster hiding in the mine for the rest of his life?
I kind of wish
by
they
this
made a
movie's
sequel
logic,
for this.
It could be that.
I wish they had made a sequel. Like, it would be interesting to see how they follow this one up. Apparently, the director
set 20 years later when kids go hiding into it ends up being like the Goonies or something.
The director was trying to make a sequel 20 years later. He approached Paramount in 2001, and they said no. And then shortly thereafter, I guess they sold the rights to Lionsgate, and they made a remake. But that could be funny. Like, imagine that if they did make one in 2001, and it was that setup. It's like, Valentine's Bluff hasn't had a Valentine's party in 20 years because before that they didn't have one for 20 years. Let's go back to the night it started at all, and then, you know, maybe by 2021 they do another one. It's like every 20. It's like the Before trilogy.
Yep. But alas, it was not meant to be.
You haven't seen the original Footloose, huh? You've only seen the remake?
No, I've seen them both.
You've seen them both? Like, what if it's something like that? It's like, there's no dancing in this town. Don't you know why? Like, that could be a thing. I would love to see that as like a fan film. the My Bloody Valentine 2, just call it 20 years later. Like, what could have been? It could have been cool. Fuck you, Paramount. I hope you go bankrupt. Thanks for listening. We hope it's been a pleasure. If you like this show and you want to hear more of our wonderful voices on a weekly basis, check out 2 Cents. I'll recap what's happened in film, TV, and tech news.
We're also on the titular Dollar Review Show, a spoiler-free critique of new releases or anything we've discovered on our own, whether that be TV, music, etc.
You can find all of our content at dollarreviews.net. Follow us on Twitter or like us on Facebook at Dollar Reviews.
And we're also on Google Play Music, iTunes, Pocket Cast, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube, just about anywhere on the internet with hours of content available to you for free. But for those of you that feel that the show is worth your dollar, you can send us a donation at patreon.com/dollarreviews. Contributions not only earn our undying love, but they also make it possible for us to improve our recording equipment and to give you the highest quality episodes possible. But more importantly, they'd be helping us acquire the content to review. You know, trips to the multiplex are expensive, and the more donations we receive, the more films we can review for your listening pleasure.
If you listen somewhere we're currently not available, you'd like to contribute some talking points, send a Death to Cinema request, or if you just want to laugh at us, you can do so by reaching out to us on social media or send an email to brian@dollarreviews.net.
Or you can email me as well, steve@dollarreviews.net.
You can follow me personally on Twitter at Brian Gillis, that's BRYONGILLIS, and now you know how to spell the email too, and also under the same name on the love you site Letterboxd, which acts as my film diary, where I rate films I'm watching, write the occasional review, and even sometimes compile lists.
You can also find me on Twitter at S_MTX, and also follow my film diary at Letterboxd under the same name, where I log everything I watch, and sometimes write brief reviews.
That's it for this week. Until next time, keep the change.